Welcome, dear students of class 10, to the first flight, second part, the Black Aeroplane by Frederick Frost. We'll see the second part of this third lesson. So, this Black Aeroplane is the title of the second lesson, wherein it tells you about how your mind, the subconscious mind, moves towards in a way that it gives you intuitions. Sometime intuition means you get all of a sudden some ideas or some visuals in front of you, which might be not true, which might be not practically possible, and the same experiment is happening, or same experience is happening with this particular writer of this Black Aeroplane story. So in this also, the story is related to flying. Therefore, the second part also is related to flying. We'll see this, the here, as I told you, the intuition that you get now to this lesson also, if you'll see that the writer gets this help from unknown aeroplane to when he's in trouble in flying the aeroplane. At that time, he does not think that it is impractical that another aeroplane will be there to guide me out of the storm, and it does, his mind visualizes it, but actually it's not, and therefore we can say that the visual thing which he saw, he comes to the reality, knows it when he goes down and lands his aeroplane and then goes to the cabin of the cabin near where the management of this radar, and that is done. That madam, he talks, and at that time he comes to know that there was no such aeroplane at that time, and that is the story. And he feels that what was then that? So he could not make it out. So as I told you, the illusions or this type of thing which you see, or sometimes mentally you have some ideas that are connected, but not real things, and the same experience this writer in this particular story will see. The moon was coming up to the east behind me, and the stars were shining in the clear sky above me. So there's an aeroplane, and the plane, from that you can see around, and everything was clear. I was happy to be alone high up above the sleeping countryside. Sleeping, it was night time, and therefore I was flying my old Dakota aeroplane over France back to England. France is going to England. I was dreaming of a holiday and looking forward to being with my family. I looked at my watch, 1:30 in the morning. 1:30 after 12, in the midnight. And he's wanting, you can make it out from this first paragraph, that he is moving from one country to another, and by doing that, he is trying to say that he wants to, in the weekend, enjoy life with his family. He will meet the family when he reaches England, and thereafter he can resume the next time duty. Though I should call Paris control soon, I thought, as I looked down the past and the nose of the aeroplane. I saw the lights of a big city in front of me. I switched on the radio and said, Paris control, Dakota DS 088 here. Can you hear me? I'm on my way to England, over. So to intimate the ground control system, that you to call them and tell that I am the pilot of this particular plane and I'm moving, so you have to notify them. Then that same thing, the process is taking place over here. He is calling them. So the ground staff will not misguide or misguided, or they will not try to feel that what is the unknown flying object unless it is known and recorded. The voice from the radio answered me immediately. DS088, I can hear you. You ought to turn 12 degrees west now. DS088, over. So how much you to move, in what degree, that instructions are given by the control room down there. I checked the map and the compass, switched over my the last fuel tank, and turned the Dakota 12 degrees west towards England. I'll be in time for breakfast. Till the morning time, I'll reach there. I thought a good big English breakfast. Everything was going well. It was an easy flight. Huh? So he makes it out that the flight is easy, and now I'll be able to move to my home place within the period of the morning breakfast. We'll have a good sumptuous breakfast with my family in the morning. Paris was about 150 kilometers behind me. Then I saw the cloud storm. But when he flies for 150 kilometers from Paris at that time, all of a sudden there is a change in the atmosphere. There was a huge, they looked like black mountains standing in front of me across the sky. I knew I could not fly on up and over them, and I did not have enough fuel to fly around them to the north or south. Huge mountain, clouds are there, and these clouds, you can see these are so big, and if I have a limited fuel, and if I want to, I move about round and or move away from it and go moving from this particular obstacle in my way, then it will cost me more mileage, and that I will have to lose that much of the fuel, and then I'll not be able to reach mid-flight. If my fuel gets over, then I will be in trouble. So that is why I ought to go back to Paris. I thought, but I couldn't. I wanted to get home. I wanted that breakfast. So here he's stuck now. I'll take a risk. I thought I flew that old Dakota straight into the storm. He moves into the storm, let it be. I'll take the risk. I thought I flew an old Dakota straight into the storm. So instead of moving away from that, he goes straight into the cloud. Inside the clouds, everything was suddenly black. It was impossible to see anything outside. The aeroplane, the old aeroplane, jumped and twisted in the air. I looked at the compass. I couldn't believe my eyes. The compass was turning around. And I was dead. I could not work. It would not work, and other instruments were suddenly dead too. I tried the radio. So it was a period of where you can say much more ancient time, and therefore today's sophistication of the pilot's cabin is not so sophisticated nowadays. There were all the facilities digital. Earlier it was not, and at that time they would rely on this mechanical way of controlling the aeroplane. Paris control, can you hear me? There was no answer. So his connection with the control room is also over. The radio was dead too. I had no radio, no compass, and I could not see here where I was. I was lost in the storm. Then in the black cloud, quite near me, I saw another aeroplane. Here is the climax of this story, wherein he has an illusion that another aeroplane is coming to his rescue and trying to guide him out of the storm. It had no lights on its wings, but I could see it flying next to me through the storm. I could see the pilot's face turned around me, as if he's telling, come, come behind me, I'll guide you out of the storm. I was very glad to see another person. He lifted one hand and waved. I saw him waving also to me. Follow me, he was saying, follow me. He knows that I'm lost. I thought he's trying to help me. He turned the aeroplane slowly to the north in front of my Dakota so that it could be easier for me to follow him. So exactly in front of him he moves. And at that time, I was very happy to go behind the strange aeroplane like an obedient child. I thought it's a God-sent, path which this aeroplane is showing me out of the storm. And if I follow it, then definitely I'll be in a good position to have my way out of this storm. After half an hour, the strange black aeroplane was still there in front of me in the clouds. Now there was only enough fuel in the old Dakota's last tank to fly for 5 or 10 minutes more. So here, because of the storm or the resistance or unable to move in the direction exactly, he lost a lot of his fuel. Now a very less amount of fuel is left in his tank. I was starting to feel frightened again, but then he started to go down and follow through the storm. So through the storm he moves after. Suddenly I came out of the clouds and saw 2 long straight lines of lights in front of me. So here, that guiding of this particular aeroplane has made him reach to the place where the place is the runway where to land the aeroplane. An airport. It was safe. I turned to look for my friend in the black aeroplane, but the sky was empty. Where is the friend who guided me out of the storm? There was nothing there. The black aeroplane was gone. I could not see it anymore. Anyway, I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota near the control tower. So he goes straight to the control tower. I went and asked the woman in the control center where I was and who the other pilot was. Because in the control room they can on the monitors see which aeroplane or flying objects are within that area. And so here the writer wants to ask is this only: if another aeroplane was there, the radar would definitely tell. This lady would definitely tell that there was another aeroplane flying with you, which guided, according to the writer, it guided him to move out of this particular storm. I landed and not a sorry walk away from the old Dakota, the control room, he says. I asked the women in the control room, I was who the other pilot was. I wanted to ask, say thank you. She looked at me very strangely and then laughed. She laughs. You are telling that another aeroplane guided you out of the storm or the cloud, but on my radar there is no other aeroplane. Absolutely, there was one, and that was you. She looked at me very strangely and then laughed. Another aeroplane up there in the storm? No other aeroplanes were flying tonight. Yours was the only one I could see on the radar. So who helped me to arrive here safely without a compass or radio? I had no compass, a radio, and that intuition that I got that I had to move, or I had the illusion of some other aeroplane guiding me. Without any more fuel in the tank, who was the pilot on the strange black aeroplane flying in the storm without lights? Without lights, he was at the night also. So here, that same thing, what we discussed earlier also, that he is having the illusion, but he doesn't know, what this illusion was real or not. And he goes to the control room, asks the women to confirm whether she could see any other aeroplane at that night besides his own. But he gets a negative reply from there. He's mocked at his insistence that there was another aeroplane, because the women in the control room also said that there was none other, but only one, your aeroplane that was seen in the night. So that way, the other flying related story we have seen over here, and this also is very much connected to us, how we have illusions, or we can say some intuition which we have at a time of crisis, and we come out of it. You can have your own experience put before you and compare it with the writers. And therefore here, as I told you, both the first one, the first flight, and this one, both gives you a certain experience of your life, and this experience that is very much connected to you, connected with you. Don't take it as very hypothetical or something, what you call it, impractical. It is practical, and it happens when you are also in trouble. You get intuitions and illusions. So that is the thing you have to see in this particular lesson. So both this lessons, having completed the third lesson, you have to write the exercise and the textual grammar at the back. We'll see you in the next class. Till then, goodbye.